Okay, just done and dusted with my practice, and before we get started with the actual series that I want to do, I thought it made a lot of sense to actually give you a little bit of a background information on me, my story for want of a better word, and why I believe that sort of nailing these 5 marketing fundamentals that we're going to discuss really came from my own personal experience. So while I put these clubs up, just watch this small video that I've put together, and I look forward to getting started. So this is me aged 12 years old in school, and I often had a smile on my face, just sort of had a really great family when I grew up, just a wonderful environment to be in, and more times than not had a smile on my face, and that was whether I was in school or whether I was doing something else that was pretty important to me, which was amateur dramatics as a kid. However, the biggest love was sport, and whether I was playing cricket, football, or soccer as our friends across the pond call it, or athletics. Sport was what it was all about with me. However, big love at the time was tennis, and played to a decent enough level where I was able to win a few tournaments, and then as a kid also had that lifelong dream of actually playing in a junior event at Wimbledon. I managed to be in the newspapers, the national papers, for some of my exploits. Then I went out to America and played 1 year in Nashville and then 3 others in Alabama. And while in Nashville, I set a record of 24-1. I lost the very first match I played, and then I won 24 in a row to go through that season. Graduated from Troy State University, where I studied marketing and journalism, and this is where I sort of began to find out what I really enjoyed doing and what I was going to do in later years. However, when I went out to the States, I went with a wife and a baby, and that's my daughter Rua there, and they came out with me. And that's us just spending a little bit of time, and on the left hand side, yes, that beautiful white sand is South Alabama. Really is a gorgeous place to be in. However, things didn't work out with Rua's mum, so they came back to the UK, and as you can see, a guy can only receive a certain amount of photos like this before he actually wants to go back and spend some time with his daughter. So that's what I did. Towards the end of the 90s, came back, and I was around her during many of her formative years. At this same time, I had put down the tennis racket and started playing golf. The gentleman in the dark blue sweater is a man called Peter Keeble, and Peter was so instrumental looking back. He was a golf administrator there at Five Lakes, where I was a member, and he used to always invite me for golf days and all the rest of it. And then as time went on, when I actually went into the industry myself, he was always there to give me some really great advice. During this time, I joined that club and actually won the club championship. At the time, I was playing off a handicap of 4 and playing to a decent level. Well, before long it was time to move on, as I began to cut my teeth in the industry, and I went to Buckinghamshire Golf Club, one of the top 100 courses in Britain and Ireland at the time, and I was the club secretary there. And during that time, I actually became a member of the Association of Golf Club Secretaries. That's what it was called at the time, and it was a real eye-opener for me because I began to learn best practice and industry chit-chat with fellow golf club secretaries and club managers. It was fantastic. But this was probably the more typical picture of what really made me happy. Out there practicing. This was at the Buckinghamshire early in the morning, where I was in the bunker just working on my bunker shots. And before long I realised, you know what, as much as I love it here, I'm not playing a whole lot of golf, so I decided to move on. So I worked at this club called Stockbrook Country Club, that also had a sister golf club called Three Rivers, and this was the first time in my career that the marketing team and the sales team all shared the same office, so they were able to bounce some ideas. And we also had a marketing director who was very big on setting these calendar of events, and as you'll see with my further teaching, that is something that became very important to me. But the desire to want to go into business for myself and do my own thing just proved to be too great, and then I formed Matrix Golf, which was primarily an events company where I would do corporate golf days. Some of the clients included Barclays Private Bank, O2, the mobile phone company, Jaguar, the wonderful car manufacturer, and Chelsea Football Club. But in the same token, it was the marketing side of my business that really appealed to me, and I had the real good fortune of meeting this gentleman, Kevin Redfern, an award-winning club maker and club fitter who today remains my oldest client and my most loyal. Really, he's just stuck with me through thick and thin. So we began work on doing a bit of branding for Kevin, just enabling him to sort of really get his message out there and keep working with people. At the same time, I worked with these two fantastic gents, Peter Kane and Mark Arnold. They had a golf swing simulator, a swing machine, and then also doing logo design. And Peter, as well as the swing simulator, doubled up doing a golf show, a trick shot. And yes, in case you were wondering, he did wear those clothes during the show, and it was fantastic. Because I lived in East Anglia, I also worked with the tourist board and putting together a Suffolk golf offering that didn't quite get off the ground, but we started the initial preliminary work on laying websites down and getting the courses on site. And then there was just some other branding, putting some images together and logos together for various golf-related organizations. Then one day in April of 2006, things changed forever for me in the industry when I received a phone call from Fancourt, who had mentioned that they were looking to open an office in Europe, and would I be interested in representing them. Now, Fancourt had just an amazing property, and in 2004 had won World Resort of the Year, and I pretty much said, listen, if Fancourt asks you, you don't say no. So I embarked on that very, very exciting journey. And during this time we did wonderful events in Germany. I went to Berlin, that now is one of the fantastic cities in the world. Spain, Sweden. Got to meet some really great famous people, including the England football manager Fabio Capello, and the legend that is Sir Alex Ferguson. And even though I told him I hailed from the blue side of Manchester, he was really good about it. In addition, we did a lot of PR for Fancourt, did more shows, and even went into the way of doing wedding shows for them too. At about the end of 2007, start of 2008, we were contacted by a resort in Turkey, Gloria, who said, look, we're looking to get the British and Irish market a little bit more active. Would you be keen on putting together some marketing work for us? And just did some bespoke work for them, but again, really enjoyed it. However, the problem was at this time, the phone stopped ringing for Matrix related business. It was almost like I was now known as Mr. Fancourt or some of the other things that I was doing with Gloria, and there was very little in the way of Matrix, and it really it taught me a very, very important lesson. And even more so when things went pretty south with Fancourt, where we decided to go our separate ways, and for all intents and purposes there was very little work that I had available, because basically people had sort of, you know, not been contacted while I was doing other things. I wasn't emailing them, letting them know what I was doing. So when I went my separate ways with Fancourt, things were pretty tough. So immediate emergency action was required, and at this stage then went into travel. And because I had spent so much time in South Africa now, it was just putting together holiday packages in and around South Africa. And here were a few where we put together golf and a bit of a safari and then some beach trips, all very nice but very far away from what I had first set out to accomplish in the industry. And here we were, Matrix Travel Services now. However, another spot of great fortune happened when the truly fantastic property out in Ireland, Doonbeg, approached us about working with them. And Doonbeg weren't just another resort, they had won Golf Resort of the Year for Europe. So once again, we were representing an award-winning property. And got to meet some really smashing people, just like this guy here, who's now one of my best friends, Cormac Doyle. We went and we did shows, did some PR, and even did one or two events at Doonbeg, or participated rather, and just had a lot of fun. Around about this time I had one of the biggest privileges of my life when I was asked to join the Golf Consultants Association of Great Britain. It wasn't a big organisation, so I was very, very pleased to accept and be part of that wonderful think tank that discussed best practice and a bunch of other things. So now we were getting back into doing a few more events. Thankfully, the phone began ringing a little bit more when I started letting people know I was available, and provided some prizes and some golf day assistance to Ray Wilkins with his annual Ray Wilkins Golf Experience Day. We tried and failed in putting together a 4-day event up in what I think is one of the greatest stretches of golfing country in the world, the Three Royals in the northwest of England. And on the services side, we had the World Cup in South Africa, wanted to keep the South African feel-good factor going, and also the Open Championship at St Andrews. And then on the tours, I'd got back playing a bit of golf again, so I was now getting clients over and going off and playing golf with them at various places, including this group that were up in at Royal Liverpool, and then moved down to the Belfry here, and we had just a fantastic 3 days with these guys. It was fantastic. And by now I'd also taken on a couple of guys to work on Matrix Golf Tours, Cormac and Luke Fisher, and I just can't speak highly enough of these two human beings who put so much into trying to help things move forward. So by now we had taken the identity of Matrix Global Tourism and Travel. It was just easier to put everything under that one umbrella and in truth take away a lot of the confusion that was happening. So we put together a fine and dandy web page where we had travel, golf and events, but something was missing. I was missing that interaction with the small business, with the self-employed entrepreneur, the consultant, you know. And so, not for the first time, I called my old buddy Kevin Redfern and said, Kev, listen, can we get back to working together and just sort of help get that profile of yours out there in a bigger way? And Kevin, being Kevin, said, of course, let's do it. So we started working very hard on things like his website. Prior to my taking the Fancourt position, I had introduced Kevin to the Faldo Institute at Brocket Hall. We had put together a bit of consultancy for Kevin, which had served him well, and we were using that as a bit of a springboard. And from one major winner to another, Kevin also worked very closely with Ian Woosnam. Chubby Chandler, who is of course the manager of Darren Clarke and Lee Westwood, and formerly of Rory McIlroy. Kevin even put together a driver for Chubby. And Wild Thing himself, this was a great photo which Kevin had a lot of fun with, standing there with the great John Daly. Now, one thing that marketing for other people does for you is it makes you stay ahead of your game. And by this stage I began to sort of dabble and learn a little bit about social media. And then I took a bit of a plunge by putting together something called 6 of the Blessed, which covered what I call the social media cluster of Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, podcasts and blogging. And who better to sort of get the social media thing going in Matrix Global, and that was with Kevin Redfern. So we went ahead and we put together a Twitter page and also a Facebook page for him. And then I had one of the biggest thrills of my life and biggest privileges when I was introduced to the Trajectory and Amen Corner Company that belonged to none other than the late and truly great Seve Ballesteros. They have a wonderful golf course out in Spain called Santa Marina, and I was asked whether I would be interested in going to put forward a proposal to represent them. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet the great man. He wasn't well at the time, so this was the closest I actually got to standing next to Seve. However, I did meet Seve's brother Manuel, and there I'm standing in the office with Manuel and the rest of the staff there at Trajectory. And also spent a bit of time away with Gonzalo, who was Seve's chief engineer for many of his golf course projects, and Gonzo's very super and sweet lady. We just had such a great time there in Santander. Well, when I came back, things didn't work out as far as the proposal I put forward to Trajectory. We talked and we just couldn't work it out, but one thing became very evident. I was getting a real taste once again to working with individual people, helping them get their message out in a bigger way. So I contacted my old tennis buddy Jeremy Bates. We used to practice and play a lot of tennis together. Jeremy had since retired, and just speaking to him about ways that we could help him raise his profile and maybe a few ideas in business development. Again, it was all done in a very informal capacity, but it just got that sort of momentum going about this is what I really and truly want to do. Another gentleman was celebrity chef Nigel Smith, who's got a wonderful property up in the northwest. And this man here, Ted Blackbrow, who is an award-winning photographer, had been with the Daily Mail in the UK for the best part of 50 years and had taken many photos that we were actually familiar with. Here's one of a couple of snooker players in Dubai, not just any snooker players. Those in the UK will recognise Steve Davis and Stephen Hendry. Nick Faldo running on the 18th there at St Andrews in that unbelievable 1990 round of golf that he played. Nick Price up at Turnberry. That now famous round of golf that was played at Turnberry between Greg Norman, Nick Price, Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson. Ted took all these photos, and the king himself, Arnold Palmer. But Ted had retired and was going through a bit of a personal slump, if you like. He's a busy man and he wanted to get back working. So once again I called on some people that I knew in the industry, and we began matching him up with some of the great golf courses in Suffolk where Ted now lived. And you know, some of the photos he took were just absolutely breathtaking. Many of you will notice some of these ones familiar with Suffolk, Aldborough and Thorpe Ness and Woodbridge. In addition, two very prominent footballers, Luther Blissett and Les Ferdinand, had started a car racing initiative. You can see in the background, and yes, I've got no problem at all being in the background there. I'm at the very back there. This was the launch of their new venture. So at this stage I thought, well, you know what, Matrix Global Media makes a lot of sense for me. I'm working with individuals now. I'm back to doing a lot of the marketing. I put together my first ebook, 6 of the Best, which was followed by an audio program. And during this time I even began to learn how to design websites, so we created a manual for that. How to manage social media on behalf of others, marketing strategies, and then most recently I did an audio program called 7 Steps to Mastering Your Small Business Marketing. Becky Brewerton, those of you who know Becky, who plays on the Ladies European Tour, and I worked together for 2011. I was trying to help out, get the profile out there in a bigger way, so went ahead and put together a social media cluster, did some branding there. On the left hand side you see the Facebook avatar, on the top we did a blog, and in the middle there YouTube. And what was a real turn of fortune for me, came across this lady, Dr. Shari Corbett, who's based out in Los Angeles. And just to let you know, when Tiger Woods was having his personal issues and Fox News were covering it, Shari was actually called in by Fox to give all the various commentary on that. So we went ahead and we put together a great social media profile for Shari that included a blog for her, a Facebook, a web page, and all the social media. And at this time I just began to realize, you know what, I am absolutely loving this. I'm beginning to combine what I know with marketing, what I know with sport and golf, and able to create various products. So, you know, at the time life was pretty good. In fact, I didn't think, you know, despite a few problems on the business, particularly stemming from what had happened with Matrix Golf and, you know, losing some big clients and it really affecting our income, I thought, you know, it was time to really move forward in a positive way, and the future was going to be very bright. However, in autumn of 2011, the gentleman that you see on the side of my side there at this soccer game, my father, he died, and it absolutely hit me for 6. I just sort of, it was just something where, you know, a tough year just got even worse for me. And you know, when we put Dad to rest, when we laid Dad to rest, that's my family there, my Aunt Lizzie, my brother Tao and my mother, you know, although we missed Dad and it was a very sad day in many ways, it was also a day of celebration. And you know, it gave me a lot of time to reflect about saying, you know what, where do we move forward from here? So as I set up and set my targets for 2012. The last year and a half, and for that matter the last 5 or 6 years in the industry, have given me a real indication of what I want to do. The year off gave me an opportunity to study, so putting all those programs together were all down enlarged to this lady here. Her name's Emma Tibbins. She's out in Orange County, California, and Emma actually sponsored me to attend a $5,000 seminar in California at the start of 2011. And you know, at that time, talking to Emma and saying, you know what, I love golf, but I love marketing. And while I love golf and I love marketing, I don't know if I'm very good at working with the bigger organizations. It's more with the smaller organizations. And by talking, we just sort of managed to work a few things out about what would A, make me happy, but B, more importantly, how I could help other people. So I embarked on a real sort of campaign, for want of a better word, of being a speaker, a marketer, a consultant, being able to teach people how to become better marketers of their products, their services, and themselves. And while I absolutely love the game of golf and continue to play and will play to become the very best player I can be, I've also realized that, you know, I will do best helping other people in the golf industry who are very passionate about what they do, and they're looking to take their offerings to that next level. I'd really like to teach them. And you know, I suppose in many ways it was summed up best by this gentleman here. His name is Scott Martineau, and Scott is the co-founder of a wonderful customer relations manager software called Infusionsoft. And Scott was in London towards the end of 2011, and he's written a book, a fantastic book called Conquer the Chaos. And I loved the book, I enjoyed it, so I took the book over to the workshop. And this was a workshop on email marketing, how to sort of really efficiently get your email marketing and your continuity going. And he signed the book for me. And in the book he said, Mucha, thanks for helping in the cause to revolutionize the way small businesses grow. And I think he pretty much summed it up there. That's exactly what I want to do. And I'm looking so forward to 2012, where I can work with those small businesses, those entrepreneurs, those consultants, as I can sort of put all the experience, good and bad, but also the savvy and the know-how that I continue to learn as a student of marketing to work. I feel more confident about the future than ever before.